Hello students, and welcome to the first part of Lesson 2 of General Maths. So we've split this lesson into two parts, as you've probably noticed by now. The reason being, guys, our learning intention today is to be able to calculate salaries and wages. So there's two things that we're looking at today. This video is going to cover salaries, the other video is going to cover wages. So what is a salary? Well, I would be getting this down in my book. A salary is a fixed amount paid to an employee to do a job. So it's usually based on an annual amount divided into weekly, fortnightly, or monthly payments. So I, for example, am on a salary. Even if I only work the bare minimum hours, 8:30 to 3, every single day, I get paid the same amount as when it's close to report card season and I'm getting there early and not leaving until 6 o'clock. So a salary is when you get paid the exact same amount every single week, or month, or fortnight, or whatever. So before we look at the examples, a couple of quick things to remember. Firstly, there's 52 weeks in a year, hopefully we know that, 26 fortnights in a year, 2 weeks in a fortnight, and a year is made up of 12 months. Please remember that there are not 4 weeks in a month. So if you look at any calendar, you'll see that clearly there are more than 4 weeks in this month. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, plus a little at the top, and 1 at the bottom. February being an exception, but every other month has a little bit more than 4 weeks. So if you've ever been told in the past there are 4 weeks in a month, you need to get rid of that information because it's incorrect. Anyway, so let's look at some examples. Remember, getting these examples down in your notebook as I go through with them. So Dimitri works as an accountant and receives an annual salary of $63,700. So annual, remember, means yearly. So it's saying Dimitri gets $63,700 every year. But we want to know the pay that Dimitri is getting each fortnight. So to determine fortnightly salary, we take Dimitri's annual salary divided by 26. Why 26? Well, that's because there are 26 fortnights in a year. So fortnightly salary, 63,700 divided by 26 gives me 2,450. And of course, worded question, worded answer, Dimitri's fortnightly pay is $2,450. Do a quick mental check. Is this a reasonable answer? Now, we should be doing this for every single question we do in maths, but especially with questions that deal with money, because this is stuff we can actually visualize. Is this reasonable? Can you picture someone making $2,450 for 2 weeks worth of work? Yeah, I realize some of you probably don't make that much, but that's a reasonable amount to earn every 2 weeks. Geez, I wish I earned that much. Anyway, next example. Charlotte works as a laboratory technician and is paid an annual salary of $41,560. If Charlotte works an average of 42 hours per week, calculate her hourly rate of pay. So to figure out someone's hourly rate of pay, well, we need to know their weekly pay and divide it by how many hours they have worked that week. Now, we know I know it's pronounced Charlotte. We know Charlotte has worked 42 hours. So we know how many hours she's worked, but we don't actually know her weekly pay. The question doesn't tell us how much she earns per week. So I'm going to need to figure out her weekly pay first. So to find weekly pay, well, we do know her annual pay. It's $41,560. So 41,560 divided by 52 weeks in a year. Now, when I input that in my calculator, as you can see, I don't get a nice, neat number. So I've had to round my answer to the nearest cent. Note how I've used this little squiggly equals here. That means approximately equal to. So if you're ever rounding your answer, you should be using that, especially now that you're in year 11. So now I can figure out Charlotte's hourly rate of pay. I know her weekly pay, it's $799.23, and I need to divide that by the hours she works per week. How many hours did she work again per week? That's right, 42. So I've gone 799.23 divided by 42 rather, giving me an answer of approximately $19.02. Once again, I'm going to keep reminding you, this is a worded question, so I need a worded answer. Charlotte's rate of pay is approximately $19.02 per hour. So why do this? Well, now if Charlotte's comparing her pay with her mate who works at Woolies or Macca's or something, she can see whether she earns more than them. Now, I strongly recommend students not just copying this down, but do this calculation yourself. You might find that you're off by a cent. Now, why might you be off by a cent? Probably because of rounding issues. So when I typed this into my calculator, I carried my answer from earlier. So if when you do round things, it might affect things later. So my advice is to keep things as precise as possible for as long as possible. Having said that, at this stage, don't panic if you're off by a single cent. We will probably still give you the mark. Probably. Alrighty, last example before you guys get started on the textbook work. George receives a weekly salary of $1,050 in 2017. The rate of inflation was 3.4% in 2018. Calculate his weekly salary at the end of 2018 if it increased with inflation. So what? Inflation? We haven't covered this. No, we haven't. And maybe if you study business, you might have a bit of familiarity with what inflation is. But all this is saying, this is a very wordy way of saying George's pay has increased by 3.4%. That's all it's saying. It's saying this is how much he earned in 2017, and it's gone up this much in 2018. So often you'll get questions that ask you to do something quite simple, but wrap it up in quite a complicated way. Anyway, so to find George's new salary, well, I take his earlier salary and see how I've multiplied it by 103.4%. Why 103.4%? Well, it's increased by 3.4%, but if I just multiply by 3.4%, I'm going to get a very small figure. I'm only going to get, oh dear, wrong button there. I'm only going to get $35.70, and clearly George is earning more than that in a year. So what I do is I multiply it by 103.4%. So that's his earlier pay, representing 100%, plus the inflation rate of 3.4%, giving me 103.4%. When I do that, I get a 1,085.7. So I write my worded answer. George's new pay is $1,085.70 per week. And once again, do a mental check. Is this reasonable? Does this look like an increase? So going from 1,050 to 1,085, does that look like an increase of only 3.4%? Yeah, because 3.4% isn't a lot. His pay's only gone up by about $30 per week. So, students, now we're going to complete the first part of the textbook work for this lesson. We're heading to page 9 and completing these questions. I'll see you once you've done that for part 2 of today's lesson.